Section 2, Driving Safely, Chapter 2. This section covers 2.1, Vehicle Inspection, 2.2, Basic Control of your Vehicle, 2.3, Shifting Gears, 2.4, Seeing, 2.5, Communicating, 2.6, Controlling your speed, 2.7, Managing space, 2.8, Seeing hazards, 2.9, Distracted driving, 2.10, Aggressive drivers / road rage, 2.11, Driving at night, 2.12, Driving in fog, 2.13, Driving in winter, 2.14, Driving in very hot weather, 2.15, Railroad highway crossings, 2.16, Mountain driving, 2.17, Driving emergencies, 2.18, Anti-lock braking systems, or ABS, 2.19, Skid control and recovery, 2.20, Accident procedures, 2.21, Fires, 2.22, Alcohol, other drugs, and driving, 2.23, Hazardous materials rules for all commercial drivers, and that's where that stops. This section contains knowledge and safe driving information that all CDL holders should know. You must pass a test on this information to get a CDL. This section does not have specific information on air brakes, combination vehicles, doubles, or passenger vehicles. When preparing for the vehicle inspection test, you must review the material in Section 11, in addition to the information in this section. This section does have basic information on hazmat that all drivers should know. If you need an H endorsement, study Section 9 or Chapter 9. 2.1, Vehicle Inspection. 2.1.1, Why inspect? Safety is the most important reason you inspect your vehicle. Safety for yourself and other road users. A vehicle defect found during an inspection could save you problems later. You could have a breakdown on the road that will cost you time and dollars, or even worse, an accident caused by the defect. Federal and state laws require that drivers inspect their vehicles. Federal and state inspectors may also inspect your vehicles. If they judge the vehicle to be unsafe, they will put it out of service until it is fixed. 2.1.2, Types of vehicle inspections. Vehicle inspection. A vehicle inspection will help you find problems that could cause an accident or breakdown. Vehicle inspections should be done routinely before operating the vehicle. Review the last vehicle inspection report. Make sure the vehicle has been released for service by the maintenance mechanics, if applicable. The motor carrier must repair any items in the report that affect safety and certify on the report that repairs were made or were unnecessary. Remember, when you get behind the wheel, you, not the mechanic, are responsible for the safe operation of the vehicle. If the defects have been repaired, sign the previous driver's report. There is detailed information on vehicle inspections in Section 11 of this handbook. Trip inspection. For safety during a trip, you should watch gauges for signs of trouble, use your senses to check for problems, look, listen, smell, and feel. Check these critical items when you stop: tires, wheels and rims, brakes, lights and reflectors, brake and electrical connections to the trailer, trailer coupling devices, cargo securement devices. After-trip inspection and report. You should do an after-trip inspection at the end of the trip, the day, or tour of duty on each vehicle you operated. It may include filling out a vehicle condition report listing any problems you find. The inspection report helps a motor carrier know when the vehicle needs repairs. 2.1.3, what to look for. Tire problems. Too much or too little air pressure. Next, bad wear. You need at least 4/32 of an inch tread depth in every major groove on front tires. You need 2/32 of an inch on other tires. No fabric should show through the tread or sidewall. Next, look for cuts or other damage. Next, look for tread separation. Next, look for dual tires that come in contact with each other or parts of the vehicle. Next, look for mismatched sizes. Next, look for radial and bias ply tires used together. Next, look for cut or cracked valve stems. Next, look for regrooved, recapped, or retreaded tires on the front wheels of a bus. These are prohibited. Wheel and rim problems. Look for damaged rims. Look for rust around wheel nuts, which may mean the nuts are loose and therefore you should check tightness. After a tire has been changed, stop a short while later and recheck tightness of the nuts. Next, look for missing clamps, spacers, studs. Missing clamps, spacers, studs, or lugs mean danger. Mismatched, bent, or cracked lock rings are dangerous. Wheels or rims that have had welding repairs are not safe. Bad brake drums or shoes. Look for cracked drums. Look for shoes or pads with oil, grease, or brake fluid on them. Look for shoes that are worn dangerously thin, that are missing or broken. Steering system defects. Look for missing nuts, bolts, cotter keys, or other parts. Look for bent, loose, or broken parts such as steering column, steering gearbox, or tie rods. If power steering equipped, check hoses, pumps, fluid level, and for leaks. Look for steering wheel play of more than 10 degrees, approximately 2 inches movement at the rim of a 20-inch steering wheel, which can make it hard to steer. 2.1 shows a picture of a steering system. Next section is called suspension system defects. The suspension system holds up the vehicle and its load and keeps the axles in place. Therefore, broken suspension parts can be extremely dangerous. Look for spring hangers that allow movement of an axle from its proper position. See Figure 2.2. Next, cracked or broken spring hangers. Missing or broken leaves in any leaf spring. If 1/4 or more are missing, it will put the vehicle out of service, but any defect could be dangerous. See Figure 2.3. Broken leaves in a multi-leaf spring or leaves that have shifted so they might hit a tire or other part. Leaking shock absorbers. Torque rods or arms, U-bolts, spring hangers, or other axle positioning parts that are cracked, damaged, or missing. Air suspension systems that are damaged and or leaking. See Figure 2.4. Any loose, cracked, broken, or missing frame members. Figure 2.2 shows key suspension parts. Figure 2.3 shows safety defect, broken leaf spring. Figure 2.4 shows air suspension parts. Moving on, exhaust system defects. A broken exhaust system can let poison fumes into the cab or sleeper berth. Look for loose, broken, or missing exhaust pipes, mufflers, tailpipes, or vertical stacks. Look for loose, broken, or missing mounting brackets, clamps, bolts, or nuts. Look for exhaust system parts rubbing against fuel system parts, tires, or other moving parts of the vehicle. Look for exhaust system parts that are leaking. Emergency equipment. Vehicles must be equipped with emergency equipment. Look for fire extinguishers, spare electrical fuses unless equipped with circuit breakers. Look for warning devices for parked vehicles, for example, 3 red reflective warning triangles, 6 fuses, or 3 liquid burning flares. Next section, 2.1.4, CDL Vehicle Inspection Test. To obtain a CDL, you will be required to pass a vehicle inspection test. You will be tested to see if you know whether your vehicle is safe to drive. You will be asked to do an inspection of your vehicle. You must point to or touch and name the item you are inspecting and explain why to the examiner. The following 7-step inspection method should be useful. Cargo trucks. You must make sure the truck is not overloaded and the cargo is balanced and secured before each trip. If the cargo contains hazmat, you must inspect for proper papers and placarding. 2.1.5, 7-step inspection method. Method of inspection. Do a vehicle inspection the same way each time so you will learn all the steps and be less likely to forget something. Approaching the vehicle. Notice the general condition. Look for damage or the vehicle leaning to one side. Look under the vehicle for fresh oil, coolant, grease, or fuel leaks. Check the area around the vehicle for hazards to vehicle movement, such as people, other vehicles, objects, low-hanging wires, tree limbs, and so on. Vehicle Inspection Guide, Step 1. Vehicle Overview. Review the last vehicle inspection report. Drivers may have to make a vehicle inspection report in writing each day. The motor carrier must prepare any items in the report that affect safety and certify on the report that repairs were made or were unnecessary. You must sign the report only if defects were noted and certified to be repaired or repairs are not needed. Step 2. Check the engine compartment. Check that the parking brakes are on and or wheels chalked. You may have to raise the hood, tilt the cab, secure loose things so that they do not fall and break something, or open the engine compartment door. Check the following: the engine oil level, the coolant level in the radiator and condition of hoses. Check the power steering fluid level and condition of the hose, if so equipped. Check the windshield washer fluid level. Check the battery fluid level, connections and tie downs. The battery might be located somewhere else. Check the automatic transmission fluid level. This may require the engine to be running. Check belts for tightness and excessive wear, such as alternator, water pump, air compressor. Know how much give the belts should have when adjusted right and check each one. Check the engine compartment for leaks: fuel, coolant, oil, power steering fluid, hydraulic fluid, battery fluid. Check the electrical wiring insulation for cracks and wear. Lower and secure the hood, the cab, or engine compartment door. Step 3. Start the engine and inspect inside of the cab. Get in and start the engine. Make sure the parking brake is on. Next, put the gear shift in neutral or park if automatic. Start engine and listen for unusual noises. Next, if equipped, check the anti-lock braking system ABS indicator lights. The light on the dash should come on, then turn off. If it stays on, the ABS is not working properly. For trailers only, if the yellow light on the left rear of the trailer stays on, the ABS is not working properly. Look at the gauges. Oil pressure. Pressure should come up to normal within seconds after the engine is started. See figure 2.5. And figure 2.5 shows oil pressure. Idling, 5 to 20 psi. Operating, 35 to 75 psi. And low, dropping, fluctuating says stop immediately. Without oil, the engine can be destroyed rapidly. Moving on. Air pressure. Pressure should build from 50 to 90 pounds per square inch psi within 3 minutes. Build the air pressure to governor cutout, usually around 120 to 140 psi. Know your vehicle's requirements. Check the ammeter and or voltmeter. These should be in normal ranges. Check the coolant temperature. Should begin a gradual rise to normal operating range. Check the engine oil temperature. Should begin gradual rise to normal operating range. Check the warning lights and buzzers. Oil, coolant, charging circuit warning, and ABS lights should go out right away. Check the condition of the controls. Check all of the following for looseness, sticking, damage, or improper setting. Steering wheel, the clutch, accelerator or gas pedal, brake controls, foot brake, trailer brake if the vehicle has one, parking brake, retarder controls if the vehicle has them. Check the transmission controls. Check the interaxle differential lock if the vehicle has one. Check the horns. Check the windshield wiper and washer. Check the lights, such as headlights, dimmer switch, turn signal, four-way emergency flashers, parking clearance, identification, marker switches. Next, check mirrors and windshield. Inspect mirrors and windshield for cracks, dirt, illegal stickers, or other obstructions to seeing clearly. Clean and adjust as necessary. Check the emergency equipment. Check for safety equipment. Check for spare electrical fuses, unless the vehicle has circuit breakers. Check for 3 red reflective triangles, 6 fuses, or 3 liquid burning flares. Check for properly charged and rated fire extinguisher. Check for optional items such as chains, where winter conditions require them. Check for tire changing equipment. Check for list of emergency phone numbers. Check for accident reporting kit, which should come in a packet. Check the safety belt. Check that the safety belt is securely mounted, adjusts and latches properly, and is not ripped or frayed. Step 4. Turn off the engine and check the lights. Make sure the parking brake is set, turn off the engine and take the key with you. Turn on the lights, low beams, and 4-way emergency flashers and get out of the vehicle. Step 5. Do a walk-around inspection. Go to the front of the vehicle and check that the low beams are on and both 4-way flashers are working. Push the dimmer switch and check that the high beams work. Turn off the headlights and 4-way emergency flashers. Turn on the parking clearance, side marker, and identification lights. Turn on the right turn signal and start the walk-around inspection. General. Walk around and inspect the vehicle. Clean all lights, reflectors, and glass as you go along. left front side. Driver's door glass should be clean. Door latches and locks should work properly. Left front wheel. Check the condition of the wheel and rim. There should be no missing, bent, or broken spacer studs, clamps, lugs, or any sign of misalignment. Check the condition of the tire, that it's properly inflated, valve stem and cap are intact, and no serious cuts, bulges, or tread wear. Use a wrench to test rust-streaked lug nuts, indicating looseness. Check that the hub oil level is okay with no leaks. Left front suspension. Check the condition of the spring hangers, shackles, and U-bolts. Check the shock absorber condition. Left front brake. Check the condition of the brake drum or disc. Check the condition of the hoses. Front. Condition of the front axle. Check the condition of the steering system. There should be no loose, worn, bent, damaged, or missing parts. You must grab the steering mechanism to test for looseness. Check the condition of the windshield. Check for damage and clean if dirty. Check the windshield wiper arms for proper spring tension. Check the wiper blades for damage, stiff rubber, and securement. Lights and reflectors. Parking, clearance, and identification lights are clean, operating, and the proper color, amber at the front. Reflectors are clean and the proper color, amber at front. Right front turn signal light is clean, operating, and the proper color, amber or white on signals facing forward. Right side of the truck. Check all items as done for the left front. Primary and secondary safety cab locks are engaged if cab over engine design. Right fuel tanks. Check that they are securely mounted and not damaged or leaking. Check that the fuel crossover line is secure. Check that the tanks contain enough fuel. Check that the caps are on and secure. Condition of the visible parts. Rear of the engine is not leaking. Transmission is not leaking. Check that the exhaust system is secure, not leaking, and not touching wires, fuel, or airlines. Check that the frame and cross members have no bends or cracks. Check that the airlines and electrical wiring is secured against snagging, rubbing, or wearing. Check that the spare tire carrier or rack is not damaged, if so equipped. Check that the spare tire and or wheel is securely mounted in the rack. Check that the spare tire and wheel is adequate, such as proper size and properly inflated. Cargo securement, trucks. Cargo is properly blocked. Check that cargo is properly blocked, braced, tied, chained, and so on. Check that the header board is adequate and secure, if required. Check that the sideboards and stakes are strong enough, free of damage, and properly set in place, if so equipped. Check that the canvas or tarp, if required, is properly secured to prevent tearing, billowing, or blocking of mirrors. If oversized, all required signs, such as flags, lamps, and reflectors, are safely and properly mounted, and all required permits are in the driver's possession. Check that curbside cargo compartment doors are in good condition, securely closed, latched, locked, and required security seals are in place. Right rear of the truck. Check the condition of the wheels and rims. There should be no missing, bent, or broken spacers, studs, clamps, or lugs. Check the condition of the tires. They should be properly inflated. Valve stems and caps should be intact, and no serious cuts, bulges, or tread wear. With no serious cuts, bulges, or tread wear, and tires not rubbing each other, and nothing stuck between them. Tires are the same. Check that the tires are the same type. For example, not mixed, radial, and bias types. Check that the tires are evenly matched, as in the same size. Check that the wheel bearing seals are not leaking. Suspension. Check the condition of the springs, the spring hangers, the shackles, and U-bolts. Check that the axles are secure. Check that the powered axles are not leaking lube or gear oil. Check the condition of the torque rod arms and bushings. Check the condition of the shock absorbers. If retractable axle equipped, check the condition of the lift mechanism. If air-powered, check for leaks. Check the condition of the air ride components. Moving on to the brakes. Check brake adjustment. Check condition of the brake drums or discs. Check condition of the hoses. Look for any wear due to rubbing. Lights and reflectors. Check side marker lights are clean, operating, and proper color. Red at the rear, others amber. Check that side marker reflectors are clean and the proper color. Red at the rear, others amber. Rear of the truck. Check lights and reflectors. Rear clearance and identification lights are clean, operating, and the proper color. Red at the rear. Check that reflectors are clean and the proper color. Red at the rear. Check that tail lights are clean, operating, and the proper color. Red at the rear. Right rear turn signals are operating and the proper color. Red, yellow, or amber at the rear. Check that the license plate is present, clean, and secured. Check that the splash guards are present, not damaged, properly fastened, not dragging on the ground, and not rubbing the tires. Check that cargo is secure in trucks. Cargo is properly blocked, braced, tied, chained, and so on. Tailboards are up and properly secured. End gates are free of damage and properly secured in stake sockets. Check that canvas or tarp, if required, is properly secured to prevent tearing, billowing, and blocking of either the rear view mirrors and the rear lights. If over length or over width, make sure all signs and or additional lights, flags, are safely and properly mounted and all required permits are in the driver's possession. Check that rear doors are securely closed, latched, and locked. Left side. Check all items as done on the right side. Plus, batteries, if not mounted in the engine compartment. Battery boxes, that the battery box is securely mounted to the vehicle. The box has a secure cover. The batteries are secured against movement. That the batteries are not broken or leaking. That fluid in the batteries is at the proper level except maintenance-free type. That cell caps are present and securely tightened except maintenance-free type. That vents in the cell caps are free of foreign material except maintenance-free type. Step 6, check the signal lights. Get in and turn off the lights. Turn off all the lights. Turn on the stop lights. Apply the trailer handbrake or have a helper press the brake pedal. Turn on the left turn signal lights. Now, get out and check the lights. The left front turn signal light is clean, should be clean, operating, and the proper color, amber or white on signals facing the front. Check that the left rear turn signal light and both stop lights are clean, operating, and the proper color, red, yellow, or amber. Note: checks of the brake, turn signal, and four-way flasher functions must be done separately. Get in the vehicle. Turn off the lights, not needed for driving. Check for all required papers, trip manifests, permits, and so on. Secure all loose articles in the cab. They might interfere with the operation of the controls or hit you in an accident. Start the engine. Step 7. Start the engine and check. Test for hydraulic leaks. If the vehicle has hydraulic brakes, pump the brake pedal 3 times. Then apply firm pressure to the pedal and hold for 5 seconds. The pedal should not move. If it does, there may be a leak or other problem. Get it fixed before driving. If the vehicle has air brakes, do the checks described in sections 5 and 6 of this handbook. Brake system. Test the parking brakes. Fasten the safety belt. Set the parking brake power unit only. Release the trailer parking brake if applicable. Place the vehicle into a low gear. Gently pull forward against the parking brake to make sure the parking brake holds. Repeat the same steps for the trailer with the trailer parking brake set and the power unit parking brakes released, if applicable. If it does not hold the vehicle, it is faulty. Get it fixed. Next section, test the service brake stopping action. Drive the vehicle about 5 miles per hour. Push the brake pedal firmly. Pulling to one side or the other can mean brake trouble. Any unusual brake pedal feel or delayed stopping action can mean trouble. If you find anything unsafe during the vehicle inspection, get it fixed. Federal and state laws forbid operating an unsafe vehicle. 2.1.6. Inspection during a trip. Check vehicle operation regularly. You should check instruments, air pressure gauge if you have air brakes, temperature gauges, pressure gauges, ammeter/voltmeter, mirrors, tires, cargo and cargo covers, and lights. If you see, hear, smell, or feel anything that might mean trouble, check it out. Safety inspection. Drivers of trucks and truck tractors transporting cargo must inspect the securement of the cargo within the first 50 miles of a trip and every 150 miles or every 3 hours after, whichever comes first. 2.1.7. After trip inspection and report. You may have to make a written report each day on the condition of the vehicle you drove. Report anything affecting safety or possibly leading to a mechanical breakdown. The vehicle inspection report tells the motor carrier about problems that may need fixing. Keep a copy of your report in the vehicle for 1 day. That way, the next driver can learn about any problems you have found. Subsection 2.1. Test your knowledge. Question 1. What is the most important reason for doing a vehicle inspection? Question 2. What things should you check during a trip? Question 3. Name some key steering system parts. Question 4. Name some suspension system defects. Question 5. What 3 kinds of emergency equipment must you have? Question 6. What is the minimum tread depth for front tires? What about for other tires? Question 7. Name some things you should check on the front of your vehicle during the walk-around inspection test. Question 8. What should wheel bearing seals be checked for? Question 9. How many red reflective triangles should you carry? Question 10. How do you test hydraulic brakes for leaks? Question 11. Why put the starter switch key in your pocket during the vehicle inspection? These questions may be on your test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsection 2.1. 2.2. Basic control of your vehicle. To drive a vehicle safely, you must be able to control its speed and direction. Safe operation of a commercial motor vehicle requires skill in accelerating, steering, stopping, backing safely. Fasten your seatbelt when on the road. Apply the parking brake when you leave your vehicle. 2.2.1. Accelerating. Do not roll back when you start. You may hit someone behind you. If you have a manual transmission vehicle, partly engage the clutch before you take your right foot off the brake. Apply the parking brake whenever necessary to keep from rolling back. Release the parking brake only when you have applied enough engine power to keep from rolling back. On a tractor-trailer equipped with a trailer brake hand valve, the hand valve can be applied to keep from rolling back. Speed up smoothly and gradually so the vehicle does not jerk. Rough acceleration can cause mechanical damage. When pulling a trailer, rough acceleration can damage the coupling. When starting a bus on a level surface with good traction, there is often no need for the parking brake. Speed up very gradually when traction is poor, as in rain or snow. If you use too much power, the drive wheels may spin and you could lose control. If the drive wheels begin to spin, take your foot off the accelerator. 2.2.2. Steering. Hold the steering wheel firmly with both hands on opposite sides of the wheel. If you hit a curb or pothole, chuck hole, the wheel could pull away from your hands unless you have a firm hold. 2.2.3. Stopping. Push the brake pedal down gradually. The amount of brake pressure you need to stop the vehicle will depend on the speed of the vehicle and how quickly you need to stop. Control the pressure so the vehicle comes to a smooth, safe stop. If you have a manual transmission, push the clutch in when the engine is close to idle. 2.2.4. Backing safely. Because you cannot see everything behind your vehicle, backing is always dangerous. Avoid backing whenever you can. When you park, try to park so you will be able to pull forward when you leave. When you have to back, here are a few simple safety rules. First, start in the proper position. Next, look at your path. Next, use the mirrors on both sides. Next, back slowly. Next, back and turn towards the driver's side whenever possible. Next, use a helper whenever possible. These rules are discussed as follows. Start in the proper position. Put the vehicle in the best position to allow you to back safely. This position will depend on the type of backing to be done. Next, look at your path. Look at your line of travel before you begin. Get out and walk around the vehicle. Check your clearance to the sides, overhead, in, and near the path your vehicle will take. Use mirrors on both sides. Check the outside mirrors on both sides frequently. Get out of the vehicle and check your path if you are unsure. Next, back slowly. Always back as slowly as possible. Use the lowest reverse gear. That way you can easily correct any steering errors. You can also stop quickly if necessary. Back and turn towards the driver's side. Back towards the driver's side so you can see better. Backing towards the right side is very dangerous because you cannot see as well. If you back and turn towards the driver's side, you can watch the rear of your vehicle by looking out the side window. Use driver's side backing, even if it means going around the block to put your vehicle in this position. The added safety is worth it. Use a helper. Use a helper whenever you can. There are blind spots that you cannot see. That is why a helper is important. The helper should stand near the back of your vehicle where you can see them. Before you begin backing, work out a set of hand signals that you both understand. Agree on a signal for stop. 2.2.5 Backing with a trailer. When backing a car, straight truck, or bus, turn the steering wheel towards the direction you want to go. When backing a trailer, turn the steering wheel in the opposite direction. Once the trailer starts to turn, you must turn the wheel the other way to follow the trailer. Whenever you back with a trailer, try to position your vehicle so you can back in a straight line. If you must back on a curved path, back towards the driver's side so you can see. Back slowly so you can make corrections before you get too far off course. Correct drift immediately. As soon as you see the trailer getting off the proper path, correct it by turning the steering wheel in the direction of the drift. Pull forward. When backing, make pull-ups to reposition your vehicle when needed. 2.3 Shifting gears. Correct shifting of gears is important. If you cannot get your vehicle into the right gear while driving, you will have less control. 2.3.1 Manual transmissions. Basic method for shifting up. Most heavy vehicles with unsynchronized manual transmission require double clutching to change gears. If equipped with a synchronized manual transmission, double clutching is not required. This is the method. First, release the accelerator, push in the clutch, and shift to neutral at the same time. Release the clutch. Next, let the engine and gears slow down to the revolutions per minute or RPM required for the next gear. This takes practice. Next, push in the clutch and shift to a higher gear at the same time. Next, release the clutch and press the accelerator at the same time. Shifting gears using double clutching requires practice. If you remain too long in neutral, you may have difficulty putting the vehicle into the next gear. If so, do not try to force it. Return to neutral, release the clutch, increase the engine speed to match the road speed, and try again. Knowing when to shift up. There are two ways of knowing when to shift. First, use engine speed or RPM. Study the driver's manual for your vehicle and learn the operating RPM's range. Watch your tachometer and shift up when your engine reaches the top of the range. Some newer vehicles use progressive shifting. The RPM at which you shift becomes higher as you move up the gears. Find out what is right for the vehicle you will operate. Next, use road speed or miles per hour. Learn what speeds each gear is good for. Then, by using the speedometer, you will know when to shift up. With either method, you may learn to use engine sound to know when to shift. Basic procedures for shifting down. Release the accelerator, push in the clutch, and shift to neutral at the same time. Release the clutch. Then, release the accelerator and increase the engine and gear speed to the RPM required in the lower gear. Next, push in the clutch and shift to the lower gear at the same time. Next, release the clutch and press the accelerator at the same time. Downshifting, like upshifting, requires knowing when to shift. Use either the tachometer or speedometer and downshift at the right RPM or road speed. Special conditions where you should downshift are before starting down a hill. Slow down and shift down to a speed that you can control without using the brakes hard. Read it again. Slow down and shift down to a speed that you can control without using the brakes hard. Otherwise, the brakes can overheat and lose their braking power. Make sure you are in a low enough gear, usually lower than the gear required to climb the same hill. Before entering a curve, special conditions where you should downshift are before entering a curve. Slow down to a safe speed and downshift to the right gear. This lets you use some power through the curve to help the vehicle be more stable while turning. It also allows you to speed up as soon as you are out of the curve. 2.3.2 Multi-speed rear axles and auxiliary transmissions. Multi-speed rear axles and auxiliary transmissions are used on many vehicles to provide extra gears. You usually control them by a selector knob or switch on the gear shift lever of the main transmission. There are many different shift patterns. Learn the right way to shift gears in the vehicle you will drive. 2.3.3 Automatic transmissions. Some vehicles have automatic transmissions. You can select a low range to get greater engine braking when going down grades. The lower ranges prevent the transmission from shifting up beyond the selected gear unless the governor RPM is exceeded. It is very important to use this braking effect when going down grades. 2.3.4 Retarders. Some vehicles have retarders. Retarders help slow a vehicle, reducing the need for using your brakes. They reduce brake wear and give you another way to slow down. There are 4 basic types of retarders: exhaust, engine, hydraulic, and electric. All retarders can be turned on or off by the driver. On some vehicles, the retarding power can be adjusted. When turned on, the retarders apply their braking power to the drive wheels only whenever you let up on the accelerator pedal all the way. Because these devices can be noisy, be sure you know where their use is permitted. Caution: when your drive wheels have poor traction, the retarder may cause them to skid. Therefore, you should turn the retarder off whenever the road is wet, icy, or snow-covered. Subsections 2.2 and 2.3. Test your knowledge. Question number 1. Why should you back towards the driver's side? Question number 2. If stopped on a hill, how can you start moving without rolling back? Question number 3. When backing, why is it important to use a helper? Question number 4. What is the most important hand signal that you and the helper should agree on? Question number 5. What are the 2 special conditions where you should downshift? Question number 6. When should you downshift automatic transmissions? Question number 7. Retarders keep you from skidding when the road is slippery. True or false? Question number 8. What are the 2 ways to know when to shift? These questions may be on the test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsections 2.2 and 2.3. 2.4. Seeing. To be a safe driver, you need to know what is going on all around your vehicle. Not looking properly is a major cause of accidents. 2.4.1. Seeing ahead. All drivers look ahead, but many do not look far enough ahead. Importance of looking far enough ahead. Because stopping or changing lanes can take a lot of distance, knowing what the traffic is doing on all sides of you is very important. You need to look well ahead to make sure you have room to make these moves safely. How far ahead to look? Most good drivers look at least 12 to 15 seconds ahead. That means looking ahead of the distance you will travel in 12 to 15 seconds. At lower speeds, that is about 1 block. At highway speeds, that is about a quarter mile. If you are not looking that far ahead, you may have to stop too quickly or make quick lane changes. Looking 12 to 15 seconds ahead does not mean not paying attention to things that are closer. Good drivers shift their attention back and forth, near and far. Figure 2.6 illustrates how far to look ahead. Look for traffic. Or figure 2.6 has a picture with 2 pictures. One says city driving and one says open highway. And it says 12 to 15 seconds is about 1 block in a city. 12 to 15 seconds is about a quarter mile on an open highway. Look for traffic. Look for vehicles coming onto the highway, into your lane, or turning. Watch for brake lights from slowing vehicles. By seeing these things far enough ahead, you can adjust your speed or change lanes if necessary to avoid a problem. If a traffic light has been green for a long time, it will probably change before you get there. Start slowing down and be ready to stop. Road conditions. Look for hills and curves, anything for which you will have to slow or change lanes. Pay attention to traffic signals and signs. Traffic signs may alert you to road conditions where you may have to change speed. 2.4.2, seeing the sides and rear. It is important to know what is going on behind and to the sides of you. Check your mirrors regularly. Check more often in special situations. Every California registered motor vehicle must have at least 2 mirrors, including one attached to the left-hand side and located to give you a clear view of the roadway to the rear for a distance of at least 200 feet. Both left and right-hand rear view mirrors are required on a motor vehicle that is constructed or loaded to obscure the driver's view to the rear, or is towing a vehicle or load that blocks the view. CVC 26709. How to use mirrors. Use mirrors correctly by checking them quickly and understanding what you see. When using your mirrors while driving on the road, check them quickly. Look back and forth between the mirrors and the road ahead. Do not focus on the mirrors for too long, otherwise you will travel quite a distance without knowing what is happening ahead. Many large vehicles have curved or convex or fisheye. Read it again. Many large vehicles have curved or convex or fisheye or spot or bug eye mirrors that show a wider area than flat mirrors. This is often helpful. However, everything appears smaller in a convex mirror than it would if you were looking at it directly. Things also seem farther away than they really are. It is important to realize this and to allow for it. Figure 2.7 shows the field of vision using a convex mirror. Mirror adjustment. Mirror adjustment should be checked prior to the start of any trip and can only be checked accurately when the trailers are straight. You should check and adjust each mirror to show some part of the vehicle. This will give you a reference point for judging the position of the other images. Regular checks. Make regular checks of your mirrors to be aware of traffic and to check your vehicle. Traffic. Check your mirrors for vehicles on either side and behind you. In an emergency, you may need to know whether you can make quick lane changes. Use your mirrors to spot overtaking vehicles. There are blind spots that your mirrors cannot show you. Check your mirrors regularly to know where other vehicles are around you and to see if they move into your blind spots. Check your vehicle. Use the mirrors to keep an eye on your tires. It is one way to spot a tire fire. If you are carrying open cargo, you can use the mirrors to check it. Look for loose straps, ropes, or chains. Watch for a flapping or ballooning tarp. Special situations. Special situations require more than regular mirror checks. These are lane changes, turns, merges, and tight maneuvers. Lane changes. Check your mirrors to make sure no one is alongside or about to pass you. Check your mirrors before you change lanes to make sure there is enough room. After you signaled to check that no one has moved into your blind spot. Right after you start the lane change to double check that that your path is clear. And finally, after you complete the lane change. Turns. In turns, check your mirrors to make sure the rear of your vehicle will not hit anything. Merges. When merging, use your mirrors to make sure the gap in traffic is large enough for you to enter safely. Tight maneuvers. Anytime you are driving in close quarters, check your mirrors often. Make sure you have enough clearance. 2.5 Communicating. 2.5.1 Signal your intentions. Other drivers cannot know what you are going to do until you tell them. Signaling what you intend to do is important for safety. Here are some general rules for signaling. Turns. There are 3 good rules for using turn signals. 1. Signal early. Signal well before you turn. It is the best way to keep others from trying to pass you. Number 2. Signal continuously. You need both hands on the wheel to turn safely. Do not cancel the signal until you have completed the turn. 3. Cancel your signal. Do not forget to turn off your turn signal after you have turned if you do not have self-canceling signals. Note: for information on vehicles that must be equipped with lamp turn signals and 2 stop lamps, see CVC 2495 and 24600. 24951 and 24600. Lane changes. Put your turn signal on before changing lanes. Change lanes slowly and smoothly. That way, a driver you did not see may have a chance to honk their horn or avoid your vehicle. Slowing down. Warn drivers behind you when you see you will need to slow down. A few light taps on the brake pedal, enough to flash the brake lights, should warn following drivers. Use the 4-way emergency flashers for times when you are driving very slowly or are stopped. Warn other drivers in any of the following situations. First, trouble ahead. The size of your vehicle may make it hard for drivers behind you to see hazards ahead. If you see a hazard that will require slowing down, warn the drivers behind by flashing your brake lights. 2. Tight turns. Most car drivers do not know how slow you have to go to make a tight turn in a large vehicle. Give drivers behind you warning by braking early, slowly, and gradually. Stopping on the road. Truck and bus drivers sometimes stop in the roadway to unload cargo or passengers or to stop at a railroad crossing. Warn following drivers by flashing your brake lights. Do not stop suddenly. Driving slowly. Drivers often do not realize how fast they are catching up to a slow vehicle until they are very close. If you must drive slowly, alert following drivers by turning on your emergency flashers if it is legal. Laws regarding the use of flashers differ from one state to another. Check the laws of the states where you will drive. Do not direct traffic. Some drivers try to help out others by signaling when it is safe to pass. You should not do this. It could cause an accident. You could be blamed, and it could cost you many thousands of dollars. 2.5.2, communicating your presence. Other drivers may not notice your vehicle even when in plain sight. To help prevent accidents, let them know you are there. When passing. Whenever you are about to pass a vehicle, pedestrian, or bicyclist, assume they do not see you. They could suddenly move in front of you. When it is legal, tap the horn lightly, or at night, flash your lights from low to high beam and back. Drive carefully enough to avoid an accident, even if they do not see or hear you. When it is hard to see. At dawn, dusk, in rain or snow, you need to make yourself easier to see. If you are having trouble seeing other vehicles, other drivers will have trouble seeing you. Turn on your lights. Use the headlights, not just the identification or clearance lights. Use the low beams. High beams can bother people in the daytime as well as at night. When parked at the side of the road. When you pull off the road and stop, be sure to turn on the four-way emergency flashers. This is important at night. Do not trust the tailgates to give warning. Drivers have crashed into the rear of a parked vehicle because they thought it was moving normally. If you must stop on a road or the shoulder of any road, you must put on your emergency warning devices within 10 minutes. Place your warning devices at the following locations. First, if you must stop on or by a one-way or divided highway, place warning devices 10 feet, 100 feet, and 200 feet towards the approaching traffic. See Figure 2.8. If you stop on a two-lane road carrying traffic in both directions or on an undivided highway, place warning devices within 10 feet of the front or rear corners to mark the location of the vehicle, and 10 feet behind and ahead of the vehicle on the shoulder or in the lane you stopped in. See Figure 2.9. Next, place your warning devices at the following locations. Back beyond any hill, curve, or other obstruction that prevents other drivers from seeing the vehicle within 500 feet. If line of sight view is obstructed due to hill or curve, move the rearmost triangle to a point back down the road so warning is provided. See Figure 2.10. When putting out the triangles, hold them between yourself and the oncoming traffic for your safety, for your own safety, so other drivers can see you. Use your horn when needed. Your horn can let others know that you are there. It can help to avoid an accident. Use your horn when needed. However, it can startle others and be dangerous when used unnecessarily. 2.6, controlling your speed. Driving too fast is a major cause of fatal accidents. You must adjust your speed depending on driving conditions. These include traction, curves, visibility, traffic, and hills. 2.6.1, stopping distance. Perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance equals total stopping distance. Perception distance. This is the distance your vehicle travels in ideal conditions from the time your eyes see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. Keep in mind, certain mental and physical conditions can affect your perception distance. It can be affected greatly depending on visibility and the hazard itself. The average perception time for an alert driver is 1 3/4 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, this accounts for 142 feet traveled. Reaction distance. This is the distance you will continue to travel in ideal conditions before you physically hit the brakes in response to a hazard seen ahead. The average driver has a reaction time of about 3/4 of a second to 1 second. At 55 miles per hour, this accounts for 61 feet traveled. And there are three figures, figure 2.8, 2.9, and 2.10. And I'll take pictures of them and include them at the end of the chapter. Braking distance. This is the distance your vehicle will travel in ideal conditions while you are braking. At 55 miles per hour, on dry pavement with good brakes, it can take about 216 feet. Total stopping distance. The total minimum distance your vehicle has traveled in ideal conditions with everything considered, including perception distance, reaction distance, and braking distance, until you can bring your vehicle to a complete stop. At 55 miles per hour, your vehicle will travel a minimum of 419 feet. Figure 2.11 shows the American football field in using distance. Effect of speed on stopping distance. The faster you drive, the greater the impact of or striking power of your vehicle. When you double your speed from 20 to 40 miles per hour, the impact is 4 times greater. The braking distance is also 4 times longer. Triple the speed from 20 to 60 miles per hour, and the impact and braking distance is 9 times greater. At 60 miles per hour, your stopping distance is greater than the length of an American football field. Increase the speed to 80 miles per hour, and the impact and braking distance are 16 times greater than at 20 miles per hour. High speeds greatly increase the severity of accidents and stopping distances. By slowing down, you can reduce braking distance. Effect of vehicle weight on stopping distance. The heavier the vehicle, the more work the brakes must do to stop it, and the more heat they absorb. The brakes, tires, springs, and shock absorbers on heavy vehicles are designed to work best when the vehicle is fully loaded. Empty trucks require greater stopping distances because an empty vehicle has less traction. Control and stopping requirements. The service brake must hold the vehicle or combination of vehicles stationary on any grade on which it is operated under all conditions of loading or unloading. CVC 26454. The service brakes of every motor vehicle or combination of vehicles must be capable of stopping from an initial speed of 20 miles per hour as follows: maximum stopping distance, MSD, in feet. Passenger vehicle, 25 MSD, or 25 feet, maximum stopping distance. Single motor vehicle with a manufacturer's GVWR of less than 10,000 pounds, 30 MSD, or 30 feet of maximum stopping distance. Single motor vehicle with the manufacturer's GVWR of 10,000 pounds or more, or any bus, 40 MSD, or 40 feet of maximum stopping distance. Combination of vehicles consisting of a passenger vehicle or any motor vehicle with a manufacturer's GVWR of less than 10,000 pounds in combination with any trailer, semi-trailer, or trailer coach, 40 MSD, or 40 feet of maximum stopping distance. All other combinations of vehicles, 50 MSD, or 50 feet of maximum stopping distance. 2.6.2, matching speed to the road surface. You cannot steer or brake a vehicle unless you have traction. Traction is friction between the tires and the road. Some road conditions reduce traction and call for lower speeds. Slippery surfaces. It will take longer to stop and it will be harder to turn without skidding when the road is slippery. Wet roads can double stopping distance. You must drive slower to be able to stop in the same distance as on a dry road. Reduce speed by about 1/3. For example, slow from 55 to about 35 miles per hour on a wet road. On packed snow, reduce speed by a half or more. If the surface is icy, reduce the speed to a crawl and stop driving as soon as you can safely do so. Identifying slippery surfaces. Sometimes it is hard to know if the road is slippery. Here are some signs of slippery roads. Shaded areas. Shady parts of the road will remain icy and slippery long after open areas have melted. Bridges. When the temperature drops, bridges will freeze before the road will. Be especially careful when the temperature is close to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Melting ice. Slight melting will make ice wet. Wet ice is much more slippery than ice that is not wet. Black ice. Black ice is a thin layer that is clear enough that you can see the road underneath it. It makes the road look wet. Anytime the temperature is below freezing and the road looks wet, watch out for black ice. Vehicle icing. An easy way to check for ice is to open the window and feel the front of the mirror support or antenna. If there is ice on these, the road surface is probably starting to ice up. Just after rain begins. Right after it starts to rain, the water mixes with oil left on the road by vehicles. This makes the road very slippery. If the rain continues, it will wash the oil away. Hydroplaning. In some weather, water or slush collects on the road. When this happens, your vehicle can hydroplane. It is like water skiing. The tires lose their contact with the road and have little or no traction. You may not be able to steer or brake. You can regain control by releasing the accelerator and pushing in the clutch. This will slow your vehicle and let the wheels turn freely. If the vehicle is hydroplaning, do not use the brakes to slow down. If the drive wheels start to skid, push in the clutch to let them turn freely. It does not take a lot of water to cause hydroplaning. Hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour if there is a lot of water. Hydroplaning is more likely if tire pressure is low or tread is worn. The grooves in a tire carry away the water. If the grooves are not deep, they will not work well. Road surfaces where water may collect can create conditions that cause a vehicle to hydroplane. Watch for clear reflections, tire splashes, and raindrops on the road. These are indications of standing water. 2.6.3, speed and curves. Drivers must adjust their speed for curves in the road. If you take a curve too fast, two things can happen. The tires can lose their traction and continue straight ahead, so you skid off the road. Or the tires may keep their traction and the vehicle rolls over. Slow to a safe speed before you enter a curve. Braking in a curve is dangerous because it is easier to lock the wheels and cause a skid. Slow down as needed. Do not ever exceed the posted speed limit for the curve. Be in a gear that will let you accelerate slightly in the curve. This will help you keep control. 2.6.4, speed and distance ahead. You should always be able to stop within the distance you can see ahead. Fog, rain, or other conditions may require that you slow down to be able to stop in the distance you can see. At night, you cannot see as far as with low beams as you can with high beams. Slow down when you must use low beams. Again, slow down when you must use low beams. 2.6.5, speed and traffic flow. When you are driving in heavy traffic, the safest speed is the speed of other vehicles. Vehicles going the same direction at the same speed are not likely to run into one another. In California, speed limits are lower for trucks and buses than for cars. It can vary as much as 15 miles per hour. Use extra caution when you change lanes or pass on these roadways. Drive at the speed of the traffic, if you can, without going at an illegal or unsafe speed. Keep a safe following distance. The main reason drivers exceed speed limits is to save time. Anyone trying to drive faster than the speed of traffic will not be able to save much time. The risks involved are not worth it. If you go faster than the speed of other traffic, you will have to keep passing other vehicles. This increases the chance of an accident, and it is more tiring. Fatigue causes the chance of an accident. Going with the flow of traffic is safer and easier. (2.6.6) Speed on downgrades. Your vehicle speed will increase on downgrades because of gravity. Your most important objective is to select and maintain a speed that is not too fast for the total weight of the vehicle and cargo, not too fast for the length of the grade, not too fast for the steepness of the grade, not too fast for the road conditions, not too fast for the weather. If a speed limit is posted or there is a sign indicating maximum safe speed, never exceed the speed shown. Also, look for and heed warning signs indicating the length and steepness of the grade. You must use the braking effect of the engine as the principal way of controlling your speed on downgrades. The braking effect of the engine is greatest when it is near the governed RPMs and the transmission is in the low gears. Save your brakes so you will be able to slow or stop as required by road and traffic conditions. Shift your transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade and use the proper braking techniques. Carefully read the information on going down long, steep downgrades safely in subsections 2.16, mountain driving, in this handbook. 2.6.7, roadway work zones. Speeding traffic is the #1 cause of injury and death in roadway work zones. Observe the posted speed limit at all times when approaching and driving through a work zone. Watch your speedometer and do not allow your speed to creep up as you drive through long sections of road construction. Decrease your speed for adverse weather or road conditions. Decrease your speed even further when a worker is close to the roadway. 2.6.8, overtaking or following another vehicle. You may not overtake or pass another vehicle which is moving at less than 20 miles per hour on a grade outside a business or residential district, unless you can pass that vehicle at least 10 miles per hour faster than it is traveling, and the pass can be completed within a quarter mile. CVC 21758. You must not follow the vehicles listed below any closer than 300 feet. The rule does not apply during overtaking and passing. When there are 2 or more lanes for traffic in each direction, or in a business or residential district, CVC 21704. A motor truck or truck tractor having 3 or more axles. A motor truck or truck tractor towing any other vehicle. A passenger vehicle or bus towing any other vehicle. A school bus transporting any school pupil. A farm labor vehicle when transporting passengers. A vehicle transporting explosives. A trailer bus. When large vehicles are being driven in caravan on the open highway, at least 100 feet must be left between them to allow other vehicles to overtake and pass them. CVC 21705. Subsections 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6. Test your knowledge. Question 1. How far ahead does the handbook say you should look? Question 2. What are 2 main things to look for ahead? Question 3. What's your most important way to see the sides and rear of your vehicle? Question 4. What does communicating mean in safe driving? Question 5. Where should your reflectors be placed when stopped on a divided highway? Question 6. What 3 things add up to total stopping distance? Question 7. If you go twice as fast, will your stopping distance increase by 2 times or 4 times? Question 8. Empty trucks have the best braking, true or false? Question 9. What is hydroplaning? Question 10. What is black ice? These questions may be on your test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsections 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6. 2.7. Managing space. You need space all around your vehicle to be a safe driver. When things go wrong, space gives you time to think and take action. You need to manage space to have space available when something goes wrong. While this is true for all drivers, it is very important for large vehicles. They take up more space and require more space for stopping and turning. 2.7.1. Space ahead. Of all the space around your vehicle, the space you are driving into is most important. Need for space ahead. You need space ahead in case you must suddenly stop. Remember, if the vehicle ahead of you is smaller than yours, it can probably stop faster than you can. You may crash if you are following too closely. How much space? How much space should you keep in front of you? One good rule says you need at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, you must add 1 second for safety. For example, if you are driving a 40-foot vehicle, you should leave 4 seconds. And figure 2.12 shows heavy vehicle formula for timed interval following distance. 1 second required for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds under 40 miles per hour. Above 40 miles per hour, use the same formula, then add 1 second for the additional speed. A 40-foot truck under 40 miles per hour equals 4 seconds. A 50-foot truck above 40 miles per hour equals 6 seconds. A 60-foot truck under 40 miles per hour equals 6 seconds. Continuing, for example, if you are driving a 40-foot vehicle, you should leave starting again. For example, If you are driving a 40-foot vehicle, you should leave 4 seconds between you and the vehicle ahead. In a 60-foot rig, you will need 6 seconds. Over 40 miles per hour, you would need 5 seconds for a 40-foot vehicle and 7 seconds for a 60-foot vehicle. See Figure 2.12. To know how much space you have, wait until the vehicle ahead passes a shadow on the road, a pavement marking, or some other clear landmark. Then, count off the seconds like this: 1001, 1002, and so on, until you reach the same spot. Compare your count with the rule of 1 second for every 10 feet of length. If you are driving a 40-foot truck and only counted up to 2 seconds, you are too close. Drop back a little and count again until you have 4 seconds of following distance, or 5 seconds if you are going over 40 miles per hour. After a little practice, you will know how far back you should be. Remember to add 1 second for speeds above 40 miles per hour. Also, remember that when the road is slippery, you need more space to stop. 2.7.2, space behind. You cannot stop others from following you too closely, but there are things you can do to make it safer. Stay to the right. Heavy vehicles are often tailgated when they cannot keep up with the speed of traffic. This often happens when you are going uphill. If a heavy load is slowing you down, stay in the right lane if you can. Going uphill, you should not pass another slow vehicle unless you can get around quickly and safely. Dealing with tailgaters safely. In a large vehicle, it is often hard to see whether a vehicle is close behind you. You may be tailgated when you are traveling slowly. Drivers trapped behind slow vehicles often follow closely. In bad weather, many small vehicle drivers follow large vehicles closely during bad weather, especially when it is hard to see the road ahead. If you find yourself being tailgated, here are some things you can do to reduce the chances of an accident. Avoid quick changes. If you have to slow down or turn, signal early and reduce speed very gradually. Increase your following distance. Open up room in front of you to help you avoid having to make sudden speed or direction changes. It also makes it easier for the tailgater to get around you. Do not speed up. It is safer to be tailgated at a low speed than at a high speed. Avoid tricks. Do not turn on your tail lights or flash your brake lights. Follow the suggestions above. 2.7.3, space to the sides. Commercial motor vehicles are often wide and take up most of the lane. Safe drivers will manage what little space they have. You can do this by keeping your vehicle centered in your lane and avoiding driving alongside others. Staying centered in a lane. Keep your vehicle centered in the lane or keep a safe clearance on either side. If your vehicle is wide, you have little room to spare. Traveling next to others. There are 2 dangers in traveling alongside other vehicles. First, another driver may change lanes suddenly and turn into you. Next, you may be trapped when you need to change lanes. Find an open spot where you are not near other traffic. When traffic is heavy, it may be hard to find an open spot. If you must travel near other vehicles, try to keep as much space as possible between you and them. Also, drop back or pull forward so that you are sure the other driver can see you. Strong winds. Strong winds make it difficult to stay in your lane. The problem is usually worse for lighter vehicles. This problem can be especially bad coming out of tunnels. Do not drive alongside others if you can avoid it. 2.7.4, space overhead. Hitting overhead objects is a danger. Make sure you always have overhead clearance. Do not assume that the heights posted at bridges and overpasses are correct. Repaving or packed snow may have reduced the clearances since the heights were posted. The weight of a cargo van changes its height, and an empty van is higher than a loaded one. Clearing under a bridge when your commercial motor vehicle was loaded does not mean it will clear when you are empty. If you doubt you have a safe space to pass under an object, go slowly. If you are not sure you can make it, take another route. Warnings are often posted on low bridges or underpasses, but sometimes they are not. Some roads can cause a vehicle to tilt. There can be a problem clearing objects along the edge of the road, such as signs, trees, or bridge supports. Where this is a problem, drive a little closer to the center of the road. Before you back into an area, get out and check for overhanging objects, such as branches or electric wires. It is easy to miss seeing them while you are backing. Also, check for other hazards at the same time. 2.7.5, space below. Many drivers forget about the space under their vehicles. This space can be very small when a vehicle is heavily loaded. This is often a problem on dirt roads and unpaved roads. Do not take a chance on getting hung up. Drainage channels across roads can cause the ends of some vehicles to drag. Cross such depressions carefully. Railroad tracks can also cause problems, particularly when pulling trailers with a low underneath clearance. Do not take a chance on getting hung up halfway across. 2.7.6, space for turns. The space around a truck or bus is important in turns. Large vehicles can hit other vehicles or objects during turns because of wide turning and off-tracking. Right turns. Here are some rules to help prevent right turn accidents. Turn slowly to give yourself and others more time to avoid problems. If you are driving a truck or bus that cannot make the right turn without swinging into another lane, turn wide as you complete the turn. Keep the rear of your vehicle close to the curb. This will stop other drivers from passing on the right. Do not turn wide to the left as you start the turn. A following driver may think you are turning left and try to pass on the right. You may crash into the other vehicle as you complete your turn. If you must cross into the oncoming lane or make a turn, watch out for vehicles coming towards you. Give them room to go by or stop. However, do not back up for them because you might hit someone behind you. See figure 2.13. Left turns. On a left turn, make sure you reach the center of the intersection before you start the left turn. If you are too soon, the left side of your vehicle may hit another vehicle because of off-tracking. If there are two turning lanes, always take the right turn lane. Do not start in the inside lane because you may have to swing right to make the turn. Drivers on your left can more readily be seen. See figure 2.14. 2.7.7, space needed to cross or enter traffic. Be aware of the size and weight of your vehicle when you cross or enter traffic. Here are some important things to keep in mind. First, because of slow acceleration and the space large vehicles require, You may need a much larger gap to enter traffic than you would in a car. Next, acceleration varies with the load. Allow more room if your vehicle is heavily loaded. Next, before you start across a road, make sure you can get all the way across before traffic reaches you. Seeing hazards. 2.8.1. 2.8 was seeing hazards. 2.8.1, importance of seeing hazards. What is a hazard? A hazard is any road condition or other road user, driver, motorcyclist, bicyclist, and pedestrian, that is a possible danger. For example, a vehicle in front of you is headed towards the freeway exit. The brake lights come on and they begin braking hard. This could mean the driver is uncertain about taking the off-ramp. They might suddenly return to the highway. This vehicle is a hazard. If the vehicle cuts in front of you, it is no longer just a hazard, it is an emergency. Seeing hazards lets you be prepared. You will have more time to act if you see hazards before they become emergencies. In the example above, you might make a lane change or slow down to prevent an accident if the vehicle suddenly cuts in front of you. Seeing this hazard gives you time to check your mirrors and signal a lane change. Being prepared reduces the danger. A driver who did not see the hazard until the slow vehicle pulled back on the highway in front of them would have to do something very suddenly. Sudden braking or a quick lane change is more likely to lead to an accident. Learning to see hazards. There are often clues to help you see hazards. The more you drive, the better you can learn to see hazards. This section will talk about hazards that you should be aware of. 2.8.2, hazardous roads, move over laws, the incidence of law enforcement officers, emergency medical services, fire department personnel, and people working on the road being struck while performing duties at the roadside are increasing at a frightening pace. Move over laws have been enacted which require drivers to slow and change lanes when approaching a roadside incident to lessen the problem. Signs are posted on roadways in states that have such laws. When approaching an authorized emergency vehicle stopped on the roadside or a work zone, proceed with caution by slowing and yielding the right-of-way by changing into a lane not next to that of the authorized emergency vehicle or work zone if safety and traffic conditions permit. If a lane change is unsafe, slow down and proceed with caution while maintaining a safe speed for traffic conditions. In California, failing to obey the move over law is an infraction punishable by a fine, CBC 21809. Slow down and be very careful if you see any of the following road hazards. Work zones. When people are working on the road, it is a hazard. There may be narrower lanes, sharp turns, or uneven surfaces. Other drivers are often distracted and drive unsafely. Workers and construction vehicles may get in the way. Drive slowly and carefully near work zones. Use your four-way emergency flashers or brake lights to warn drivers behind you. Drop-off. Sometimes the pavement drops off sharply near the edge of the road. Driving too near the edge can tilt your vehicle towards the side of the road. This can cause the top of your vehicle to hit roadside objects, such as signs or tree limbs. Also, it can be hard to steer as you cross the drop-off, go off the road, or come back on. Foreign objects. Things that have fallen on the road can be hazards. They can be a danger to your tires and wheel rims. They can damage electrical and brake lines. They can be caught between dual tires and cause severe damage. Some obstacles that appear to be harmless can be very dangerous. For example, cardboard boxes may be empty, but they may also contain some solid or heavy material capable of causing damage. The same is true of paper and cloth sacks. It is important to remain alert for objects of all sorts so that you can see them early enough to avoid them without making sudden, unsafe moves. Off-ramps, on-ramps. Freeway and turnpike exits can be particularly dangerous for CMVs. Off-ramps and on-ramps often have speed limit signs posted. Remember, these speeds may be safe for small vehicles, but they may not be safe for larger vehicles or heavily loaded vehicles. Exits that go downhill can turn at the same time, turn at the same time can be especially dangerous. Read it again. Exits that go downhill and turn at the same time can be especially dangerous. The downgrade makes it difficult to reduce speed. Braking and turning at the same time can be a dangerous practice. Make sure you are going slowly enough before you get on the curved part of an off or on ramp. 2.8.3 Drivers who are hazards. In order to protect yourself and others, you must know when other drivers may do something hazardous. Some clues to this type of hazard are discussed below. Blocked vision. People who cannot see others are a very dangerous hazard. Be alert for drivers whose vision is blocked. Vans, loaded station wagons, and small vehicles with the rear window blocked are examples. Rental trucks should be watched carefully. Their drivers are often not used to the limited vision they have to the sides and rear of the truck. In winter, vehicles with frosted, ice-covered, or snow-covered windows are hazards. Vehicles may be partly hidden by blind intersections or alleys. If you only can see the rear or front end of a vehicle but not the driver, then they cannot see you. Be alert because they may back out or enter into your lane. Always be prepared to stop. Delivery trucks can present a hazard. Packages or vehicle doors often block the driver's vision. Drivers of step vans, postal vehicles, and local delivery vehicles are often in a hurry and may suddenly step out of their vehicle or drive their vehicle into the traffic lane. Parked vehicles can be hazards. People may start to get out of their vehicles, or they may suddenly start up and drive into your way. Watch for movement inside the vehicle or movement of the vehicle itself that shows people are inside. Watch for brake lights, backup lights, exhaust, and other clues that a driver is about to move. Be careful of a stopped bus. Passengers may cross in front of or behind the bus, and they often cannot see you. Pedestrians and bicyclists can also be hazards. Walkers, joggers, and bicyclists may be on the road with their back to the traffic so they cannot see you. Sometimes they wear portable stereos with headsets so they cannot hear you either. This can be dangerous. On rainy days, pedestrians may not see you because of hats and umbrellas. They may be hurrying out of the rain and may not pay attention to the traffic. Distractions. People who are distracted are hazards. Watch where they are looking. If they are looking elsewhere, they cannot see you. Be alert even when they are looking at you, even when they are looking at you. They may believe they have the right of way. Children. Children tend to act quickly without checking traffic. Children playing with one another may not look for traffic and are a serious hazard. Talkers. Drivers or pedestrians talking to one another may not be paying close attention to the traffic. Workers. People working on or near the roadway are a hazard clue. The work creates a distraction for other drivers, and the workers themselves may not see you. Ice cream trucks. Someone selling ice cream is a hazard clue. Children may be nearby and may not see you. Disabled vehicles. Drivers changing a tire or fixing an engine often do not pay attention to the danger roadway traffic is to them. They are often careless. Jacked up wheels or raised hoods are hazard clues. Accidents. Accidents are particularly hazardous. People involved in the accident may not look for traffic. Passing drivers tend to look at the accident. People often run across the road without looking. Vehicles may slow or stop suddenly. Shoppers. People in and around shopping areas are often not watching traffic. Because they are looking for stores or looking into store windows, people often run across the parking lot without looking. Vehicles may slow down or suddenly stop. Confused drivers. Confused drivers often change direction suddenly or stop without warning. Confusion is common near freeway or turnpike interchanges and major intersections. Tourists unfamiliar with the area can be very hazardous. Clues to tourists include car top luggage and out-of-state license plates, unexpected actions such as stopping in the middle of a block, changing lanes for no apparent reason, backup lights suddenly going on, are clues to confusion. Hesitation is another clue, including driving very slowly, using brakes often, or stopping in the middle of an intersection. You may also see drivers who are looking at street signs, maps, and house numbers. These drivers may not be paying attention to you. Slow drivers. Motorists who fail to maintain normal speed are hazards. Seeing slow-moving vehicles early can prevent an accident. Some vehicles, by their nature, are slow, and seeing them is a hazard clue. Mopeds, farm machinery, construction machinery, tractors, and so on. Some of these will have the slow-moving vehicle emblem to warn you. This is a red triangle with an orange center. Vehicles displaying this emblem are not designed to attain a speed greater than 25 miles per hour, CVC 385.5. Drivers signaling a turn may be a hazard. Drivers signaling a turn may slow more than expected or stop. If they are making a tight turn into an alley or driveway, they may go very slowly. If pedestrians or other vehicles block them, they may have to stop on the roadway. Vehicles turning left may have to stop for oncoming vehicles. Drivers in a hurry. Drivers may feel your commercial motor vehicle is preventing them from getting where they want to go on time. Such drivers may pass you without a safe gap in the oncoming traffic, cutting too close in front of you. Drivers entering the road may pull in front of you in order to avoid being stuck behind you, causing you to brake. Be aware of this and watch for drivers who are in a hurry. Impaired drivers. Drivers who are sleepy, have had too much to drink, are on drugs, or are ill are hazards. Some clues to these drivers are weaving across the road or drifting from one side to another, leaving the road, dropping right wheels onto the shoulder, or bumping across a curb in a turn. Next, stopping at the wrong time, stopping at a green light, or waiting too long at a stop. Open window in cold weather. Speeding up or slowing down suddenly and driving too fast or too slow. Be alert for drunk drivers and sleepy drivers late at night. Driver body movement as a clue. Drivers look in the direction they are going to turn. You may sometimes get a clue from a driver's head and body movements that a driver may be going to make a turn, even though the turn signals are not on. Drivers making over-the-shoulder checks may be going to change lanes. These clues are most easily seen in motorcyclists and bicyclists. Watch other road users and try to tell whether they might do something hazardous. Conflicts. You are in conflict when you have to change speed and/or direction to avoid hitting someone. Conflicts occur at intersections where vehicles meet, at merges such as turnpike or ramps, and where lane changes are needed, such as the end of a lane, forcing a move to another lane of traffic. Other situations include slow-moving or stalled traffic in a traffic lane and accident scenes. Watch for other drivers who are in conflict because they are a hazard to you. When they react to this conflict, they may do something that will put them in conflict with you. 2.8.4, always have a plan. You should always be looking for hazards. Continue to learn to see hazards on the road. However, do not forget why you are looking for the hazards. Do not forget why you are looking for the hazards. They may turn into emergencies. Look for the hazards to have time to plan a way out of any emergency. When you see a hazard, think about the emergencies that could develop and figure out what you would do. Always be prepared to take action based on your plans. In this way, you will be a prepared defensive driver who will improve your own safety as well as the safety of all road users. Subsections 2.7 and 2.8. Test your knowledge. 1. How do you find out how many seconds of following distance space you have? Question 2. If you are driving a 30-foot vehicle at 55 miles per hour, how many seconds of following distance should you allow? Question 3. You should decrease your following distance if somebody is following you too closely. True or false? Question 4. If you swing wide to the left before turning right, another driver may try to pass you on the right. True or false? Question 5. What is a hazard? And question 6. Why make emergency plans when you see a hazard? These questions may be on the test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsections 2.7 and 2.8. Distracted driving 2.9. A driver distraction is anything that takes your attention away from driving. Whenever you are driving a vehicle and your full attention is not on the driving task, you are putting yourself, your passengers, other vehicles, and pedestrians in danger. Distracted driving can cause accidents resulting in injury, death, or property damage. Activities inside the vehicle that can distract your attention include talking to passengers, adjusting the radios, CD player or climate controls, eating, drinking, smoking, reading maps or other literature, picking up something that fell, talking on a cell phone or Citizens Band CB radio, reading or sending text messages, using any type of telematics or electronic devices such as navigation systems, pagers, personal digital assistants, computers, and so on, daydreaming, or being occupied with other mental distractions, and many others. Possible distractions that could occur outside a moving vehicle, traffic, vehicles, or pedestrians, events such as police pulling someone over, an accident scene or road construction, sunlight, sunset, objects in roadway, reading billboards or other road advertisements, and many others. 2.9.1, the distracted driving crash problem. The Large Truck Crash Causation Study, LTCCS, reported that 8% of large truck accidents occurred when CMV drivers were externally distracted, and 2% of large truck accidents occurred when the driver was internally distracted. Approximately 5,500 people are killed each year on U.S. roadways, and an estimated 448,000 are injured in motor vehicle accidents involving distracted driving. National Highway, and this is from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Traffic Safety Facts, called Distracted Driving, NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Research indicates that the burden of talking on a cell phone, even if it is hands-free, saps the brain of 39% of the energy it would ordinarily devote to safe driving. Drivers who use a handheld device are more likely to get into an accident serious enough to cause injury. For more information, visit the NHTSA Distracted Driving webpage at distraction.gov. 2.9.2, effects of distracted driving. Effects of distracted driving include slowed perception, which may cause you to be delayed in perceiving or completely fail to perceive an important traffic event. Delayed decision-making and improper action can cause you to be delayed in taking the proper action or make incorrect inputs to the steering, accelerator, or brakes. 2.9.3, types of distractions. There are many causes of distraction, all with the potential to increase risk. Physical distraction causes you to take your hands off the wheel or eyes off the road, such as reaching for an object. Mental distraction takes your mind away from the road, such as engaging in conversation with a passenger or thinking about something that happened during the day. Both physical and mental distraction creates an even greater chance an accident could happen, such as talking on a cell phone or sending or reading text messages. 2.9.4, cell/mobile phones. CFR Title 49, Part 383, 384, 390, 391, and 392 of the Hazardous Materials Regulations, HMR, restricts the use of handheld mobile telephones by drivers of CMVs and implements new driver disqualification sanctions for drivers of CMVs who fail to comply with this federal restriction or have multiple convictions for violating a state or local law or ordinance on motor vehicle traffic control that restricts the use of handheld mobile telephones. Additionally, motor carriers are prohibited from requiring or allowing drivers of CMVs to use handheld mobile telephones. The use of handheld mobile telephones means using at least one hand to hold a mobile telephone to conduct a voice communication. Dialing a mobile telephone by pressing more than a single button or moving from a seated driving position while restrained by a seatbelt to reach for a mobile telephone. If you choose to use a mobile phone while operating a CMV, you may only use a hands-free mobile phone that is located close to you and can be operated in compliance with the rule to conduct a voice communication. Your CDL will be disqualified after 2 or more convictions of any state law on handheld mobile telephone use while operating a CMV. Disqualification is 60 days for the second offense within 3 years, and 120 days for 3 or more offenses within 3 years. In addition, the first and each subsequent violation of such a prohibition are subject to civil penalties imposed on such drivers. Motor carriers must not allow nor require drivers to use a handheld mobile telephone while driving. Employers may also be subject to civil penalties. There is an emergency exception that allows you to use your handheld mobile telephone, if necessary, to communicate with law enforcement officials or other emergency services. Research shows the odds of being involved in a safety-critical event, for example, accident, near accident, or unintentional lane deviation, is 6 times greater for CMV drivers who engage in dialing a mobile telephone while driving than for those who do not. Dialing drivers took their eyes off the forward roadway for an average of 3.8 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, or 80.7 feet per second, this equates to a driver traveling 306 feet, approximate length of an American football field, without looking at the roadway. Your primary responsibility is to operate a motor vehicle safely. To do this, you must focus your full attention on the driving task. Note that hands-free devices are no less likely than handheld cell phones to cause you to become distracted. Attention is diverted from the driving task while using either device. In California, you are not allowed to use an electronic device while driving unless it is hands-free. Even these devices are unsafe to use when you are driving down the road. If you must use your electronic communication device while you are driving, follow these tips. First, try to keep it brief and never use the electronic device for social visiting. Next, hang up your cell phone in difficult traffic situations. Next, do not use the vehicle's equipment or any electronic communication device when approaching locations with heavy traffic, road construction, heavy pedestrian traffic, or severe weather conditions. Next, do not attempt to type or read messages. Texting. CFR Title 49, Part 383, 384, 390, 391, 392, and the FMCSR prohibits texting by CMV drivers while operating in interstate commerce and implements new driver disqualification sanctions for drivers of CMVs who fail to comply with this federal prohibition or who have multiple convictions for violating a state or local law or ordinance on motor vehicle traffic control that prohibits texting while driving. Additionally, motor carriers are prohibited from requiring or allowing their drivers to engage in texting while driving. Texting means manually entering text into or reading text from an electronic device. This includes, but is not limited to, short message service, emailing, instant messaging, a command or request to access a web page, or engaging in any other form or electronic text retrieval or entry for present or future communication. Electronic device includes, but is not limited to, a cellular telephone, personal digital assistant, pager, computer, or any other device used to enter, write, send, receive, or read text. Your CDL will be disqualified after 2 or more convictions of any state law on texting while operating a CMV. Disqualification is 60 days for the second offense within 3 years and 120 days for 3 or more offenses within 3 years. In addition, the first and each subsequent violation of such a prohibition are subject to civil penalties imposed on such drivers in an amount up to $2,750. No motor carrier shall allow or require its drivers to engage in texting while driving. There is an emergency exception that allows you to text if necessary to communicate with law enforcement officials or other emergency services. Evidence suggests text messaging is even riskier than talking on a cell phone because it requires you to look at a small screen and manipulate the keypad with your hands. Texting is the most alarming distraction because it involves both physical and mental distraction simultaneously. Research shows that the odds of being involved in a safety-critical event such as an accident, near accident, unintentional lane deviation, and so on, is 23.2 times greater for CMV drivers who engage in texting while driving than for those who do not. Sending or receiving text takes your eyes from the road for an average of 4.6 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, you would travel 371 feet, the length of an entire American football field, without looking at the roadway. 2.9.6. Do not drive distracted. Your goal should be to eliminate all in-vehicle distractions before driving begins. Accomplishing this can be done by, first, assessing all potential in-vehicle distractions before driving. Next, developing a preventative plan to reduce or eliminate possible distractions. Next, expecting distractions to occur. Next, discussing possible scenarios before getting behind the wheel. Based on the assessment of potential distractions, you can formulate a preventative plan to reduce/eliminate possible distractions. If drivers react a half second slower because of distractions, accidents double. Some tips to follow so you will not become distracted. First, turn off all communication devices. Next, if you must use a mobile phone, make sure it is within close proximity, that it is operable while you are restrained. Use an earpiece or the speakerphone function. Use voice-activated dialing, and use the hands-free feature. Drivers are not in compliance if they unsafely reach for a mobile phone, even if they intend to use the hands-free function. Next, do not type or read a text message on a mobile device while driving. Next, familiarize yourself with your vehicle's features and equipment before you get behind the wheel. Next, adjust all vehicle controls and mirrors to your preferences prior to driving. Next, pre-program radio stations and preload your favorite CDs. Next, clear the vehicle of any unnecessary objects and secure cargo. Next, review maps, program the GPS, and plan your route before you begin driving. Next, do not attempt to read or write while you drive. Next, avoid smoking, eating, and drinking while you drive. Leave early to allow yourself time to stop to eat. Next, do not engage in complex or emotionally intense conversations with other occupants. And finally, secure commitment from other occupants to behave responsibly and support the driver in reducing distractions. 2.9.7. Watch out for other distracted drivers. You need to be able to recognize other drivers who are engaged in any form of driving distraction. Not recognizing other distracted drivers can prevent you from perceiving or reacting correctly in time to prevent an accident. Watch for vehicles that drift over the lane divider lines, or within their own lane. Next, vehicles traveling at inconsistent speeds. Next, drivers who are preoccupied with maps, food, cigarettes, cell phones, or other objects. Next, drivers who appear to be involved in conversations with their passengers. Give a distracted driver plenty of room and maintain your safe following distance. Be very careful when passing a driver who seems to be distracted. That driver may not be aware of your presence and they may drift in front of you. 2.10. Aggressive drivers / road rage. 2.10.1. What is it? Aggressive driving and road rage is not a new problem. However, in today's world, where heavy and slow-moving traffic and tight schedules are the norm, more and more drivers are taking out their anger and frustration in their vehicles. Crowded roads leave little room for error, leading to suspicion and hostility among drivers and encouraging them to take personally the mistakes of other drivers. Aggressive driving is the act of operating a motor vehicle in a selfish, bold, or pushy manner without regard for the rights or safety of others. One sign of an aggressive driver is a driver changing lanes frequently and abruptly without notice. Road rage is operating a motor vehicle with the intent of doing harm to others or physically assaulting a driver or their vehicle. 2.10.2, do not be an aggressive driver. First, how do you feel before you start your vehicle? Rather, how you feel before you start your vehicle has a lot to do with how stress will affect you while driving. Next, reduce your stress before and while you drive. Listen to easy listening music. Next, give the drive your full attention. Do not allow yourself to become distracted by talking on your cell phone, eating, and so on. Next, be realistic about your travel time. Expect delays because of traffic, construction, or bad weather, and make allowances. Next, if you are going to be later than you expected, deal with it. Take a deep breath and accept the delay. Next, give other drivers the benefit of the doubt. Try to imagine why he or she is driving that way. Whatever their reason, it has nothing to do with you. Next, slow down and keep your following distance reasonable. Next, do not drive slowly in the left lane of traffic. Next, avoid gestures. Keep your hands on the wheel. Avoid making any gestures that might anger another driver, even seemingly harmless expressions of irritation like shaking your head. Next, be a cautious and courteous driver. If another driver seems eager to get in front of you, say, "Be my guest." This response will soon become a habit and you will not be as offended by other drivers' actions. 2.10.3, what you should do when confronted by an aggressive driver. First and foremost, make every attempt to get out of their way. Next, put aside your pride. Do not challenge them by speeding up or attempting to hold your own in your travel lane. Next, avoid eye contact. Next, ignore gestures and refuse to react to them. Next, report aggressive drivers to the appropriate authorities by providing a vehicle description, license number, location, and if possible, direction of travel. Next, if you have a cell phone and can use it safely, call the police. Next, if an aggressive driver is involved in an accident farther down the road, stop a safe distance from the accident scene, wait for the police to arrive, and report the driving behavior you witnessed. Subsections 2.9 and 2.10. Test your knowledge. 1. What are some tips to follow so you will not become a distracted driver? Question 2. How do you use in-vehicle communications equipment cautiously? Question 3. How do you recognize a distracted driver? Question 4. What is the difference between aggressive driving and road rage? Question 5. What should you do when confronted with an aggressive driver? Question 6. What are some things you can do to reduce your stress before and while you drive? These questions may be on the test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsections 2.9 and 2.10.